Transmitting live from the Asylum Studios, deep in the bowels of Southwest Texas, it's the Rooz Show. The show where we talk about anything and everything. Where nothing is sacred, nothing is watered down, and nothing is PC.
All righty. Hey, folks. This is Joe Rooz, and it is great to be with you once again, transmitting live tonight at the Asylum Studios from the pimple on the backside of Texas, the beautiful city of Eagle Pass, and as always, doing the very best we can to bring you the best quality talk radio we can muster without all the bluster. Welcome to the Joe Rooz Show. All right, folks, I hope you had a great weekend. It is Monday. Another Monday. It is Monday, January the 5th, 2026, 19:01 hours. We actually started on time. That's a first for the new year, at least. But, folks, it is great to be with you here again. You got another week ahead of us. Had a busy weekend. I hope you guys had a good one yourselves. We had a busy weekend of shows. We did our Saturday show with our resident crypto psychic, Marissa Lee. That was as always, it's entertaining. It's a lot of fun to do the shows with Marissa. We covered a lot of ground. Of course, we talked about cryptos, and of course, we talked about my earbuds are fouled up here. Let me just straighten that out a little bit. Sorry. We talked a lot about cryptos, of course. That's the whole point of the show. And then we kind of dabbled into a little bit of politics. And we kind of left it there. Didn't really get too far into it. But it's a great show. A lot of really good information. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go back and do that. Episode 228, I think it is. 227. Yes, 227. So go check it out. It's a great show. It's a lot of really important information there. Also, yesterday's show, we had our Sunday Bible study show, which we've been studying the dispensations. And we've been going from Genesis to Revelation, dispensationally speaking. We're not doing chapter by chapter, verse by verse, but dispensationally. And we've basically come to the conclusion of the law, or at least drew it to a close, and moving into the dispensation of grace, or the church age, the age in which we are living in now. So we are progressing along the way, and I can't believe we've already finished 12 weeks of that. So coming up is week 13. I kind of have it scheduled out for about 18 to 20 weeks of study. So we're moving on target with that. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting into the next study, and I hope you guys are too. If you have any questions about it whatsoever, because I know I threw a lot at you yesterday, so it may have been a little bit confusing at some point, but let me know. Let me know by sending me an email. You can drop a comment down below. There are ways to reach us. There's always ways to reach us. And folks, I just want you to remember also that this show is a live show weeknights at 7 p.m. Central Time, Saturdays every 2 weeks at 2 p.m., and then on Sundays, every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time as well. And please do me a favor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, your family, and your followers. It's extremely important to do that. Why, you may ask? Well, I'm glad you did, because it affects the algorithm and helps the show get found. So please, if you don't mind, like, subscribe, and share with your friends, your family, and your followers. Help us get found. All right? We're doing really well, actually, considering that really don't promote very much. But doing better this year. I don't know if you saw the graphics and all that, all pretty stuff that we've been playing with, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So I hope you guys can help us out by passing the word along. All right. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things before we get into into our first guest this evening. Folks, I want to tell you about Podhome. Podhome.fm is the most modern and easy-to-use podcast hosting platform that you're going to find today. You can use it to publish your episodes, enhance your audio, and automatically generate chapters, titles, transcripts, show notes, and more. You can even generate episode art, chapter art, if you're that intrepid. Plenty of things you can do with Podhome, things that I haven't even fully explored yet myself. But check them out, podhome.fm. And not only do you get all that great stuff, but you can also podcast live. And that's what we're doing. We broadcast our stream, the audio side of the stream, through the modern podcast apps like Podhome and Podverse and Pocket Casts and all those great apps. So you can listen to the show live as it's going. And you could also do that through your website. They have HTML code. You can insert into your website, get this beautiful little player that you can customize and make it all your own. And you know what? If you are new to podcasting, maybe you're a new podcast host and you don't have a website yet, hey, Podhelm will give you a website. You get all of that and more for one monthly subscription of $15.99 a month. Just $15.99 a month. And if you go there today, you sign up, you get 30 days free. So you get 30 days to play with it, and then $15.99 a month after that. And I guarantee you're not going to go anywhere else. Folks, I've used other platforms. I paid double, sometimes triple what I'm paying with Podhome, and got nothing compared to what Podhome gives you. So check them out, podhome.fm. That's podhome.fm. All right. Now, folks, this segment that's coming up right now is sponsored by Podmatch. Podmatch.com. What is Podmatch? Well, Podmatch is kind of like Tinder for podcasters. You know, you get you set up your profile, you get matched with people, and match or pass. You know, that's the way it works. And it's a great platform. Podmatch helps the right podcast guests and hosts find each other faster and automates administrative work so that you can focus on what matters, and that is recording interviews that serve your listeners. Just head over to podmatch.com/member/Joe. It's up there on your screen for more information on Podmatch and, of course, how to become a guest on this show. So podmatch.com/member/Joe. Head on over there today. All right. Now, I was looking forward to this conversation. When I came across the profile on Podmatch, his story is very intriguing. It's an interesting story. It's something that I felt needed to be brought out on the show, especially considering that our guest, Jack Straw, he's a former cop, and got to fix the audio, I know. There we go. He's a former cop and a former federal inmate with 15 years of experience at each. And that's not an opinion. That's actually his resume. Jack rose to police captain by the age of 26, then later did a 15-year federal bid after crossing the wrong line in business. He's written books from inside prison, became a jailhouse lawyer, and now runs a brewery, which I found fascinating, and a YouTube channel called Fed Joints to Beer Joints. He's lived both sides of this system, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Jack, welcome to the show.
Joe Rooz and Jack Straw. Nice short names to remember.
You know what? It has to be. If I used my full last name on this, it would take forever to get through it.
Oh, really? Yeah. Now mine's short all the way through. So
Rooz is actually a nickname that I grew up with. So I just
really?
kind of resurfaced that for the purposes of the show. So, but Jack, great story, man. I'm really looking forward to getting into it. But before we do that, I got to ask you a very important question. Who was somebody, past or present, that you'd love to sit down and have a 2-hour coffee with?
Oh, that's for me. I'm an old historian, so that's pretty easy. Abraham Lincoln. I want to know how in the hell that guy did all that with his family falling apart, Civil War going on, win re-election, and not lose his total mind. You know, I've always been I've read every book you could think of about Abraham Lincoln. So anyone who knows me knew that answer before I said it.
All right. Well, that's great. And I'm glad you actually had an answer. Sometimes, you know, I'll ask a guest a question like that, or that question itself, and they kind of freeze up for a minute because they, you know, can't think of anything off the top of their head. But that's fantastic. That's great. Next one is if your GPS could talk in a celebrity voice, who would you want it to be and why?
Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings.
Yeah. I'm a big Waylon Jennings fan. From the time I was very small. I don't know, something about it. I saw him in concert 8 times before he died. Now, that'd be different. It'd be him or possibly Anne Murray. I'm very much into music, and we've actually released some songs. So it's like, you know about this, but yeah, Anne Murray would be probably cooler in one way, but Waylon would tell you where to go and why to go there.
And how to get there.
How to get there. No.
Absolutely. I always tell everybody mine would be William Shatner.
Really?
Yes. I want William Shatner to read my GPS in the Captain Kirk tone and voice and his cadence.
I could do that if they could have that weird music in the background. They had that.
Yes.
I could do that then, probably.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love that. It'd be fantastic. Now, so Jack, I want to really get into your stuff because we have a lot to cover, and we have a guest coming in at 8:00, and so I wanted to make sure we We really hit everything as much as we possibly can, and whatever we don't cover, like I said before the show, you're welcome to come back on anytime, and we can get through it. So, for people that are hearing your name for the first time, how do you usually describe who you are and what you do today?
Well, now I'm a grandfather, married for the second time. I guess you call me a recovering businessman.
Okay.
My first business, it kind of becoming a drunk and then recovering. My first business sent me to prison. This one came about because of prison. And so I guess that's how I would be, like a recovering businessman and a recovering grandfather, learning how to do all those things.
All right. Now, where did you grow up?
In Iowa, small town Iowa, nothing real exciting. People always say, how'd you get turned on the wrong path? Well, it wasn't really a wrong path then. We used to fish and steal cigarettes and drink beer. I'm raised by, my father was a hard drinking atheist, high lineman who was a paratrooper. My mom was not a Bible thumper, pretty hardcore Baptist in her time for a while, and a librarian, later a nurse, strange combination. And so you're raised in that world there. And I left home pretty early and stuff, but it was Iowa. It wasn't a big city life. So I don't have any of those dark stories to tell about that. My story is pretty simple. Went to school, all-state football player, girlfriend and I ended up getting pregnant, got married, divorced later on. But we did a little bit different. We decided to get pregnant our senior year of high school. What the hell were we thinking? And the reason was I was going off to play football at some college, and her folks wanted to send her to the Ivy League to a school, and we decided against it. It turned out we had 4 beautiful daughters, but at the time people asked me, I tell them what, they go, what? No, that's what happened. So,
wow, I don't think I've ever met anybody that said that they planned on getting pregnant just out of high school. That's wild. Yeah. So you kind of answered the question also, where you grew up, what kind of kid you were. Your first real job. What was your first real job?
Well, when I was a kid, I worked for several farmers and that kind of stuff. My best job I had as a young guy, I worked at a gas station, full service gas station. We changed oil, fixed tires. That's where I learned my side hustles there. The guy let us fix tires on weekends, make extra money, that kind of stuff. So that was my first job. Kind of a grease monkey.
Okay.
Grease monkey.
All right. And what did that teach you about authority and responsibility?
Well, it taught me, to listen to a boss. As far as authority went, there really wasn't much. We didn't have a whole lot of supervision. I never really had a lot of supervision when I was young. And I was kind of a disruptive child. I'm going to tell you a quick story of why that you kind of see that. I was thrown out of Bible school in my 4th grade year for asking too many questions. And I pursued that to a point where and I don't mean they asked me to leave, they literally drugged me out the door and down the steps and stuff. And my mom freaked out. My dad said, well, that's just how it is. My mom said, my God, we're raising the Antichrist. So I had a lot of distrust for authority because of the church at that time. And I'm not picking on Christians. I'm just telling you where it came from at that time. And so I was kind of an unsupervised kid. My one teacher said I was a very spirited child. I guess you go with that. So I didn't have, until I got into law enforcement, I really didn't have a whole lot of respect for authority.
Mm. That's interesting. By the way, Captain Kirk is from Iowa. Just forgot to mention that before. So you didn't have a lot of respect for law enforcement until you got into the job. So at what point did law enforcement really become something you really considered?
Well, it came about by accident, like most things in my life did. I was working a part-time job as a bouncer at a strip bar. And there was a cop in there who would come in here quite a bit. And one night he asked me if I'd like to ride along with him. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And like the very first night we're out riding, he gets a fight call and we go to this place and these guys are brawling over. And I was 19 years old, young guy, when not quite 19. I jumped right in, boy, away we went. I get to throw some guys around and stuff, and he handcuffed me. I thought, well, I kind of like this. And he kind of said, you might be pretty good at this. And so I thought being a cop was, beating guys up kind of and throwing people around. I thought, hell, I could do this and stuff. Right. So he got me lined up, and I ended up with the job back. Now, this is back in the 70s.
Right.
Things were different then. So I ended up with a part-time job in a real small town as a part-time police officer. And that's where I learned the way people treated me was different.
Mm.
I learned the importance of the job was not just you just didn't go out and beat people up. You're supposed to be helping people solve their problems. In order to do that, you had to evolve into an authority figure people would respect or listen to you. You hoped.
Yeah. So very similar to you, before I got into law enforcement myself, I worked in well, like you say, bouncing. It's kind of like a security position. I worked in security myself. I worked for a private security company, and then I worked for the City University of New York, their campus security and public safety division. So that kind of gave me my first taste. And then I also did up in New York. They call auxiliary police, which is basically you're a part-time peace officer. So you're only a peace officer when you're in uniform, and you're not getting paid for it. It's volunteer work, but it kind of gives you an idea of what it's like to be around the job. At least, I mean, you really couldn't do much because they wouldn't let you, but so that kind of gave you a flavor of what it was all about. And I loved it. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So when the opportunity came up to get a job in law enforcement, officially law enforcement, I did that. I mean, it was a great decision. I learned so much about people just from being in law enforcement. It's a wild job. It really is. And I got into it in the 90s. In the 70s, I was born in 1970. So I was growing up in the 70s, 80s. I went into law enforcement in the 90s, and it is so much different now than it was back then. It's the job is. I don't think I could do the job now, to be honest with you.
No, I wouldn't want to. I always laugh and tell people I said I was in law enforcement in the years BC before cameras.
Yeah.
And it really was. And that doesn't mean we out and thug people around stuff, but we did a lot of things then that kept the peace. I was taught by a couple of guys, Ron Nickel, who's long passed, and Ronnie Brown, both old veterans, both passed away, who taught me the important things about it, how it was about being a peace officer, not a cop, and
Right.
keeping peace. And you learn from that. And they said, don't ever get caught into this us versus them mentality. That's not how it works. And I learned a lot from those guys in those first 3 years before they retired. And it's a good thing because I never anticipated all the things you were going to see in one shift.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'll give you a good example. This happened. And I don't tell a lot of cop stories, but I tell this one here because it was one of the most difficult things I've had to go through in my life. And one night, a friend of mine who's an investigator in another jurisdiction called me, and I wanted me to deliver a death message to some people. And here's the death message I had to deliver at this home at 2:00 in the morning. These people had just come from their son's graduation in a neighboring town. And I had to deliver the message to them that the son who had just graduated was dead.
Oh my gosh.
He'd been killed after they left. The second part of the message was he'd been murdered. And the third part of the message was their other son had done it.
So they lost 2 sons.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I will never forget that night to this day. That's been so many years. I can see the woman start tearing her house apart. There was nothing we could really do. Oddly enough, those people wrote a letter of commendation about me many months later on the way we handled it, which I still have to this day. Of all the things I have from law enforcement, I hold that. It even bothers me to this day to talk about it. I feel like I'm a tough guy, but I'll never forget that. So the reason I bring that up is earlier that night we had a bar fight, and before that we had a family fight call.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I remember those two things because they, in concert with that evening going to that call, you know what I'm talking about. And so you do all those things in one shift.
Yeah. And of course you also had your lighter moments where you had more fun with the job too.
Well,
but like you, I don't really talk too much about the things that I did, when I was on the job. Some of it is too personal. Like it just affects me in a way that I don't like to really talk about too much. And some of it's just uninteresting. It's just the mundane part of it, because there is a mundane part of the job. It's, sometimes it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of, I used to call it creative storytelling. A lot of it was that too. I mean, there were times where, you really didn't have a lot to do, especially when you worked overnights. I used to work overnights a lot. And at least that's the way the rotation worked for me, it seemed. I don't really get into it too much as far as the stuff I experienced, but I did my term, I did my time, I should say, in uniform service, and then from there I moved over to our investigations division. I did investigative work for about 4 or 5 years. Ended up retiring from our operations division, which was probably I kind of knew at some point that I needed to stop because I felt like I lost the edge, and somebody was going to get hurt, and it's probably going to be me. So,
Ultimately, it would be no matter what happened.
yeah. So so I knew it was my time. That's why I say I don't think I could put a uniform on. When I moved here to Eagle Pass, I met the now former police chief, and he asked me, and the county sheriff asked me why I'm not working for them. I'm like, I don't want to put a uniform on again. I can't. It's not that I just don't. I can't. I don't see myself doing it. It's not the same job anymore. You know?
I don't know. Something's happened in those years, and I'm not sure what all it is. And like you said, there were some very funny times. We had times we used to sit around and laugh about, and a lot of it was. And I was, work third shift, driving around December and January, listening to the snow crunch under your tires for hours. It seemed like. Yeah. But there were some really good times. But like you said, I couldn't go back and do it again. I don't even know if I was that age again. Man, it's hard to tell because I was kind of an idiot. But with that thought process, I don't know if I could do it again.
Yeah. So you've seen the justice system from multiple angles. What parts of it do you think most Americans misunderstand?
Well, I don't know if everyone maybe misunderstand, but people kind of glom over it, don't really care about it unless it impacts them. I think one of the things, the justice system is pretty unfair. I think some of the things that happen that to certain people they don't have enough money to defend themselves, things like that. We've got some things going on right now with pardons, and I'm not going to get off in the political world, but I do know people who really deserve pardons, been waiting for years, can't get them, and suddenly certain people get them, just like that. First time in history I've seen that. Other things in the justice system I think that we've had issues with for a long time is justice and police departments are like prisons. Every department has its own personality. And I've often felt that there's not an equal playing field in different jurisdictions, like the prisons are all different. We can have laws written, but nothing's objective. It's all subjective. I mean, the officer can stop you for speeding and let you go, and the next guy is going to write everything wrong with your car.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I still kind of deal with that a little bit down here. You get the one guy who's super understanding, and so like, okay, here's a real life example of something that happened not too long ago. So I was I have a job here in Eagle Pass, and I was on my way to work, and I was running late. So there's a stop sign not too far from where I am, where my house is, and I didn't come to a complete stop. And here they're very picky on that. All right, so I didn't come to a complete stop. I did a rolling stop. There was nobody else. There was nothing in any direction. So I just took a rolling stop and I moved. And I don't know where he was. I didn't see him. I'm usually pretty attuned to my surroundings, but he pulled me over. And I told him, he stopped me, and I gave him all my information. Very calm, very relaxed. And he goes, "You know why I stopped you?" I said, "Yeah, because I did a rolling stop to the stop sign back there." I said, "I'm just running late for work. I'm sorry. If I would have seen you sitting there, I would have gave you the respect and not done it." And he was like, "All right." He goes, "Just make sure you come to your stops." All right, cool, no problem. Next day, did it again. I admit, I did it again. Different guy hit me for two summonses. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. But, so yeah, a lot of it is subjective. A lot of it is also, just the attitude. I'll admit there were times where I was so aggravated that day for the job that, I walked out of our station house with the attitude like the first person that crosses my path, I'm banging them for something. Wrong attitude, absolutely wrong attitude. You should never go out into the field like that. Never, ever, ever have that attitude. But I did.
Yeah, there's one thing I know. We used to tell I was told the young guys, I said, when you're going out, and young guys, well, they were younger than me, but I said, you're going out on a call, or you're going to a disturbance, or you stop some guy for a traffic rally. You don't know what's happened in that guy's life or that gal's life that day prior to that stop. The flip side of that is, you don't know what's happened in that officer's life that morning or that day before that stop. And that, because we are human beings,
That's right.
that can flip the switch real quick. And I think that's happened now with some guys in law enforcement. I don't really know what's going on today. I can't put my finger on it, but it seems like, and people say, well, there's a lot more criminals, a lot more violence. Well, let me tell you something. When I was a police officer, which a lot less police officers dealing with stuff, and I'm not picking on police today. It just seems like there's an issue somewhere, and I don't know what it is. I'm not that smart. We lost friends. I had two guys I worked with were shot and killed, and a mistake they made. And I mean, it's unfortunate, but it was a mistake they made. And now it seems to be a lot of that stuff going both ways, and I don't understand it.
It's just I just think society's just taking that type of a turn now. It's everybody has a camera, everybody has an audience, so sometimes I think they look to stir things up just to get that gotcha moment, and just get their 15 minutes of fame, posting this stuff all over the internet and all that stuff. But without jumping too far ahead, what roles did you hold during your law enforcement career?
Okay, well, I started out in basically in traffic and tickets and drunk drivers, and I got boring real quick. And I went to patrol, and that was back to the bar fights and family fights and that kind of stuff. Then I made sergeant, and I wanted to be sergeant on nights because there was more. I was still in that excitement age,
Mm-hmm.
And then after I made sergeant, I made captain. I took the test, and made captain at 26. This is where I made a big mistake in law enforcement. When I was captain, I became an operations captain, and I took over the child abuse unit, basically, which we had a big one. We had like a 28E agreement with multiple counties and things and different jurisdictions. They wanted to dump all these on us. I had no idea we had that many cases coming. No one did. We were completely underfunded. And it was the beginning of the war on drugs, and which I've got some issues with because they targeted marijuana, and I just think that was the dumb thing to target. That's my opinion.
It was the wrong move. Yeah, I agree.
These guys had countless overtime hours they could use, and the money was thrown at them, and they've seized property, And when you do child abuse cases, you don't seize any property. The overtime was held down. We were short on investigators, not enough social workers. We had one doctor assigned to our unit, and we got inundated. And the mistake I made is I left there and went basically to administration, and that was dumb because that was into my law enforcement. I just couldn't deal with that,
Yeah, administrative stuff wears you down. Become the pencil pusher is not the ideal thing for somebody who likes being out in the field and likes the action and the activity. Just because basically at that point you're just babysitting, really. That's the way I always looked at it. So I was reading on your profile, and you describe yourself as an observer of systems. When did you start paying attention to how institutions actually function versus how they're described?
Well, I go back to the church thing, and that was my first time I saw something. I thought, this is kind of weird how this works. Why are they, and why is the church like hiding? Can't they answer these questions? And as you go along, law enforcement's the same thing. We had so many things they want us to key on that really didn't seem that important to me, right to anybody else. And you'd see people first time I started to see people use the system to get more money in budgets to do these things there, where that came to priority. Prison. The prison system is rife with corruption and things, so they can get these things they need. And the systems, I hear the term system, it almost sounds like it should be called systematic failure, because there's no, I guess I'm being unfair to say that maybe, but I think there's no proprietary function in it to get better. It seems like there's always someone who has their own little area here, they have to protect. And that becomes more important than the entire system that's supposed to work for the people.
Yeah. We used to say that they had their own little fiefdom.
They do. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. It's so when people hear your story, though, what do they usually get wrong about it?
As far as about what the story?
Well, about your time from going from law enforcement and going into on the other end of law enforcement, on the receiving.
Okay. First off, I said basically I went in the business world, and it went fine for a while. I was in insurance business and that kind of stuff there, And basically, they said I misappropriated and wire fraud. I stole money. That's what I did, to make it very simple. And and I will say this: when you get involved with the feds, man, they blow it up. I mean, you look like you are the worst person in the world. There's stuff that they said that I'm going, what? You know, I wanted to plead guilty to also, but I'm going, what is that? What is this? You know,
Yeah.
and that's their way. And then I'll tell you something else they do, which this day is just the first thing they do is they threaten to go after your family. And my family had nothing to do with anything. And I didn't have a whole lot of respect for them back when I was in law enforcement. We worked with them a couple times. I had even less after that. Not saying they're bad people. Their tactics are not good. That's the way I felt about it.
I agree with you.
Yeah, those tactics are horrible. Go after family, you know. And so I think the story, really not much of the story. I told everyone, I tell everyone, you want to know about the story, come ask me. I give you one shot. That's it. Don't ask for an apology after I give you one. And I'm done with that now. You know, did my bid. That was my apology.
There you go. And that's a great attitude to have about it. I'm the same way in a lot of things like that. You know, I give you one opportunity to say what you have to say. And after that's, I don't want to hear it again. That's it. Done. You got it off your chest. It's over with.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of already answered this question. So I'm going to go on to the next one. So when things started going sideways for you, did you see it coming?
Oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this right out front. The way I thought about it, it's like I was stepping in shit and I knew it. And I just kept pushing down, because there's one thing I think I'm not a criminal. I don't have the criminal psyche. In prison, I met guys who were like me, who stepped in it.
Right.
And they panicked and didn't know what to do, tried to fix it. And then I met guys who were kind of just really, there's a lot of guys in prison who are just ignorant. They're not right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the criminals. And these guys don't care. You know, they'll step in it and then they'll step in the next one, and they keep moving, figuring how, and they have ways to do it. Well, I stepped in it and I knew it and I kept trying to fix it, and there was no fixing it. So the first thing you start doing is you start lying to yourself as much as you can. You know, that's what I did. And as long as I lied to myself, I believe I had a handle on it. But there was no, I knew that. There was no, because I didn't know how to do that. I wasn't the criminal mind, you know.
Right.
I tell guys this who go to prison. I actually was in prison. They have these classes where guys get their GED. And I was actually the keynote speaker at a class. They voted for me instead of this guy from the University of Denver. And I told them, remember one thing, when you get out of here, you go out in the world, you know, you're not a criminal. Okay. You committed a crime. You're a person who committed a crime. That was an incident. You did it. You're guilty of that. If you stole money, you're not a thief forever. You know, if you dealt drugs and you quit, you're not a drug dealer forever. Mm-hmm. If you continue that, you are. But if that's what you did, you move on. Because if that's the case, you know, if someone who punched his wife one time 30 years ago, then he's still a wife beater. No, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? Or
that makes sense.
Yeah. Or your guy rolls through a stop sign one time. Do you always roll through stop signs? You always yo. No, that's not true. It's you did. It's not who you are. Now, criminals, it's what they are. You know, that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, that's a stark difference.
Yeah.
So, what was the hardest part though of once you ended up in prison? What was the hardest part of losing that previous identity?
Well, it's kind of an odd thing. First of all, you want to lose that previous identity in prison. You don't want to be a cop in prison. Mm-hmm. That's one. I always tell people, when you first get there, the first thing they do is they vacate your ability to be a human. They strip you naked, you stand on a platform and people walking around. The humiliation is incredible. And that's where you first realize, well, this is going real south. And I don't mean Texas. Mm-hmm. That's where I ended up at, but this is going south. But and so you realize now that you're suddenly not human anymore. And so you've lost everything. Your family is somewhere out in the world gone, and there is no one there. And I tell people that first couple months when you're in prison, you find out about loneliness because it's everything it's cracked up to be. Mm-hmm. And then there's there's the fear. There's, how do I get through this? What do I do here? So your thought of ever having anything else before that is gone, because all you're thinking about is that moment, this moment right now. Every day you're there, and I tell young guys when they came to prison, always be aware of your surroundings. Know what's going on all the time, and that's your life.
How long did it take you from the time that you actually entered prison to the point where you made that realization?
Well, I'd made a decision when I went to prison that I was going to commit suicide.
Mhm.
But my father committed suicide when I was 20, so I wasn't going to do it like he did. I was going to have somebody do it for me. So I figured I'd pick a couple guys, get into it with them, have them finish me off. Because I was sent to Latuna FCI, which is not the toughest prison in the world, but it's a rugged place.
Okay.
And yeah, they'll do it to you. So I figured I would do this. So I got into a couple scraps, and I forgot all the training I had in law enforcement came back, and I won. And and so the guy said, you ain't got to fight no more. These guys will leave you alone now. And so that was kind of a point where I thought, well, okay, I'm going to live here. I'm going to live. So I'm going to have to adapt to this. So mine started coming, it probably took 90 days to just observe enough to get into the flow of what this all was. Because there was, Serenos, Texas boys, 505s, all types of gangs in that prison. So you had to kind of learn the rules about where to sit, what to do. And in 90 days, you learn it. If you don't learn it in 90 days, you probably aren't going to make another 90 in a lot of places.
No. So what are some of the misconceptions people have about prison life?
Just about everything.
Really?
Yeah, I've watched some YouTube things. I've watched some TV things. I see everybody with the tattoos are the toughest guys in prison, and everybody's got tattoos in prison. That doesn't mean a thing. And these guys are all strutting around. I've seen some of those guys cry like babies. It's the prisons are extremely organized. Now, when I say this, I'm going to go by where I was at, and guys I've known who've been other places that I've talked to. They're very organized. They have strict rules, and you have to respect those rules on where to sit when you eat, when to use the weight pile, when to use the yard.
Now, these are rules that are set up by the prison administration, or these are
by the inmates.
The inmates. Okay.
Yeah. So you have I was in Latuna. That's a Sereno yard. Serenos, are Hispanics, and I got along with these guys great. And but they basically set the rules up. And each group, you have, like I said, the Serenos, you have the 505s, another gang there. You had the Dirty White Boys, dumbest gang ever. Anyway, so everyone has their own set of rules, but then you have this set for everyone, like what tables in the lunchroom. If you break that rule and sit at the wrong table, no one's going to help you, and it's going to be real bad. What's going to happen to you? In the TV room, what chair can you sit in? The squares on the floor that your legs of your chair sit in.
Really? Wow.
Everything's very exact. If you violate rules, punishment swift, and it's not pleasant. And now it's not that there aren't guys there stealing and doing all these things because they have that mindset, but if they get caught, the actual administration or the correctional officers from prison don't really get involved in a lot of it. They just kind of let it go down there. You got this, you got it coming. And so to me, compared to, we'll call it society out here, whether everybody likes to call it society, I don't know what you really want to call it. The rules in prison are strict, and you roll that stop sign, it ain't good. There ain't no break.
Mm-hmm.
And that, just to pick on you a little bit, Joe.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's just how it is. There's no probation in the prison with the other inmates. There's no written warning, and it works. It does work. It gives it some safety factor. Now, the rival groups will fight. If you're one of them, you better be ready to go. And if you're not, you stay the hell out of it. But the number one thing in prison that will get you messed up is if you see a violation somebody's committing, no matter what it is, you didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you talk, your life is not worth much at that point.
Yeah. Now the rival, I guess, gang fights that you see portrayed in the movies and on TV shows. Is that like a regular occurrence, or is that like one-offs, or is that something? Are the portrayals in the movies and TV is that accurate in any way?
Well, they can be a little bit accurate. It's they're not as all-out warfare as you see all the time. I saw some, and it's generally you have certain gangs that you'll have a gang that just is doing things that violates the rules of all the other gangs, and they decide the rest of the people are going to take them out, work them over, and so you have that. The actual war between gangs themselves, yeah, I saw one of those, and that was exactly what it was. It was a war between two gangs, and it was bloodier than hell. And but it's not as common as people think. There's so many things going on in prison that nobody wants to get screwed up. And here's the reason that there aren't that many things going on. You have things like gambling. It's not allowed. They have it there. Lots of contraband comes in, things like that. And so the inmates don't want that interfered with. And if you have a big warfare going or a riot or a major fight, they're going to sweep in and they're going to shake down everything. They're going to shake you down anyway sometimes. But the shakedown, when they tear apart your locker, your bed, throw stuff around, throw your pictures across the floor, tear pieces out of the wall, and they're going to find everything. They're going to make your life miserable for quite a while. And so that's really what keeps the big fights away. That's the thing I never see anybody talk about on these shows, and shakedowns happen. That's their big way to get back at you. And inmates don't. And the three things that inmates that I knew didn't want to leave, I said, was like the gambling, the contraband, and their family visits. And you'll lose all that.
Wow. Yeah. So what are you working on now? And how does that connect with your past experience?
Well, first off, because I had the books out, I'm working on another book right now, which is actually about law enforcement. We have our brewery out in California, Prison Break Brewery. A guy I met in prison, Greg Thompson, is my partner. He was a drug dealer to a lot of the big rock bands, and we came up with the idea that we wanted to brew beer. And I don't know where that came from, but when you're in prison, you got time. Prison gives you time. That's not pun intended. I'm pun unintended. You work out, you write, you come up with these screwy ideas, and some guys are like us, we're nutty enough to follow through. So we did that, and we're still trying to grow it because the one thing when you get out of prison, it's a lot more difficult to get licensed and get all these things set up with these states. And that business is based out of California. The reason we did that is California is more liberal to those type of things.
I see.
So we're doing that. Like I said, we've got some songs out. If people go to prisonbreakbrewery.com, they can see all these things. Songs are free, and you can look at the books and get some snippets on them. We're working on all those things right now. We have, from the book I wrote, we have some people in California that have taken an option on the book trying to sell it for a movie or maybe a TV show. I'm not sitting here telling that's going to happen. I personally, I don't want to say it's going to happen because I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and bully and say, oh, we got a shot. I don't think we do. They seem to think we do. I don't know anything about that world.
But that has to be exciting, though, to know that your story has attracted that type of attention.
It is, but you become kind of a hardcore realist, and doing these things, and so I'm better off to not anticipate too much. They just optioned it for another year. Just got to pay for it the other day. So yeah, I hope it happens. But that story is more about Doug Williams and the polygraph than the book I wrote in prison. Than about us. So we'll see, and maybe it does. But it does. I'd love to be wrong there.
So when you're writing a book and you're in prison, is that how does that work? Like, did they just freely give you opportunity to sit down at a computer and work these things out, or is this something you have to write out, old school typewriter, handwritten?
There you go. It depends where you're at. When I started in Latuna, they're not, there were some limited computers in the law library, which you can study the law and fight your case. And I was an old jailhouse lawyer, so I use that. But most you're going to write. And I still do it that way. I still write by hand, everything. And that's how you do it in prison. You can get pens and paper at commissary. And that's the way you do it because you have the time. And you just got to sit down and just start doing it. So it's, and they actually, that's when they advocate. They'll let you send out manuscripts and stuff if you want to. They're using your time. It's a great babysitter. That's what they want.
I got you. I was going to ask you, the jailhouse lawyer, is that something that you, in your experiences, being incarcerated. Is that something that most law enforcement officers that find themselves in prison end up doing?
Not a lot of them, but yeah, some do, and the ones that do better than the lawyers that are in prison. And I tell you why. And this is for everything I tell you about this is pretty much my opinion. I can't say this is factual,
Of course, yeah.
but the cops relate to the people in the prison because they've dealt with them all the time, so they can talk to them and say this is BS. But the lawyers sit there going, really? Okay, and they're very naive or something about, because most of the lawyers who are in prison are not criminal lawyers. They're, corporate lawyers and family estate lawyers. So they've never dealt with these people. All the cops dealt with them every day.
Yeah.
So some did. We, and I guess you call it practice. We did pretty well. And another couple of guys who were officers, they did too.
Well, I was going to say that it would make sense to me that somebody that worked in law enforcement has the practical knowledge, the hands-on experience in dealing with a lot of the situations that are presented. Whereas, somebody who's, studied law, went to law school and practiced, their profession in courtrooms, they don't really have the practical hands-on real life experiences. They're more school books. And
it's all after the fact with them.
Right.
Law enforcement, traffic stops, family fight, whatever it is, you're there right now. It's happening.
Right.
And you know how to deal with these people because you're dealing in the moment. It's always easy to sit around later and then try to scroll through and find some way to justify things. But when you're talking to people, I hate the term perp, but I'll use it, or victims or whatever, then you know what people are like. They know people better.
Yeah.
And the other thing, being a jailhouse lawyer is the bar, and I don't mean the bar association, the bar is lower for people as jailhouse lawyers to get things overturned and stuff. Judges understand you're working, because you're at a disadvantage supposedly because you haven't been in law school. I think it's an advantage. But, and so you really can write it out in human terms instead of all the, terms of Greek mythology or whatever it is, that crap they use.
Right.
And get it across and win, because
that makes sense to me.
Don't take you serious,
And that makes sense to me anyway. From a practical point of view, it just makes sense. Now, your books, you have a lot of sarcasm, a lot of humor in that stuff. Where did that voice come from?
Well, I think that came from my dad was sarcastic. I've always kind of been sarcastic. I try to look at the funny side of things. When I was a cop, I was sarcastic after the fact, but prison made me sarcastic. My humor's always been that way. I was a George Carlin fan,
yes.
And so to me that just fit right into that realm,
Yeah. See, I love sarcasm. I appreciate sarcasm. I think sarcasm is one of the highest forms of humor there is.
Oh, yes.
But a lot of people don't understand sarcasm. They don't take it well.
You're picking at them, and you're not always picking at them. People have to understand, like I make crap on myself all the time. All the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, same thing.
People think, God, you got some kind of a complex. No, it's funny.
Yeah.
And
I try to tell people that too. When I first came here to Eagle Pass, I learned that they don't understand sarcasm down here.
Yeah.
They take it very personal, and I'm like, it's not personal. It's a joke. It's all it is. It's, and I'm very self-deprecating myself. I'll turn the cannon on me too. There is no fair game. Everybody's open target. I
tell people like my wife is much younger than I am, and people will see her and they go, "Wow, she's young." I said, "Yeah, she's 24 years younger than me, and she married me for money." And
God bless you.
She had the money, and I needed it. She said, "Let's get married." And they go, "What?" No, it's a joke. It's a joke. No, there's no money. Neither one of us had money.
Right.
You get it.
Yeah, I know how you mean.
Yeah. I tell people the first thing I tell you, I'm being sarcastic, is BS. Listen for the second thing, okay? And a lot of people just buy into everything right off the bat. But anyway.
So, what stories or what other topics do you feel like you need to talk to others about to avoid?
To avoid?
Yes.
You mean to avoid? I guess I don't follow the question, Joe. It's my fault, dude.
No, it's okay. It didn't. It sounded better in my head than it actually came out. Basically, it's like, what do you feel compelled to talk about that other people avoid talking about?
just about everything. I think people, talk about without getting all pissed off. But I've kind of gotten to the point now where the politics thing is almost drives you crazy. So then I just, they can all have that.
Yeah.
But I think being honest about things, about how you feel about, like, I discuss religion with people, and I'm basically an atheist. I guess that's what you call me. But you know what? I think it's fascinating. I've read the Bible numerous times.
Mhm.
And some people get offended by the fact that they say, well, you don't believe in anything then. Well, no, that's not true. I believe in you. I believe in me. I believe in my kids. I believe I can write. I believe in my dog and cat. I believe that person driving down the road towards you is probably going to stay in their lane. I believe in all these things.
Mhm.
I just don't believe there's a higher power running it. But I would love to hear your opinion about that. And then I thought people about, if you think you're skirting the law, like people on their tax stuff, or if you cheat somebody out of things like that, think you're going to get away with it, you might get away with that. But inside here, are you going to get away with it? That's the big one to me.
Conscience, yeah.
Yeah, I tell people, the Fed's got my attention. You ain't got to worry about me anymore. But I really got my attention too. So I think the one thing that people just talk about their conscience and some of the things you see people do to each other, and
Mhm.
they don't like to talk about that.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. You mentioned that you're waiting to release a certain work. Why is timing important to you?
Um, well, there's a couple of books I'm working on. First one, this one here it's a law enforcement story. It's a true story with multiple little things that fit into it, and I think the timing's important only to me when I feel like I can do the best job on it. And I put it off for quite a while. I've had a number of people ask me to write a book about the prison experience, and I haven't done it because I'm not ready yet. I don't really want to do that, right
Okay.
now. It will come with certain time. So the timing for me is internal. It's not trying to time a market or time people or anything like that.
Uh, I had a follow up to that, but you kind of covered it already. What do you hope somebody takes away from, or at least understands differently after hearing you speak?
Well, I think people should, first of all, internal honesty is really important.
Mhm.
Don't sit there and BS yourself. I mean, that will get you in trouble before anything does. Don't justify stupidity, your own stupidity. Don't do that, And you got to let other people live their own deal,
Yeah.
And I think in what I write and stuff, and I think that's one of the things that I try to get across. And believe me, I'm terrible practicing that sometimes. I can get as judgmental as hell. I'm not speaking from the mouth here. I'm working with it every day. So I think those things there, if we could do it, I believe in what something I call intellectualism and individualism, and it's in you to take. And it's not it's not a religion, and maybe it's just my own theory. But if you try to get, improve yourself, and then treat yourself well and do the right things, and I'm not trying to get too corny there. But by doing that, be nice to other people and not get carried away, I think your life can be pretty damn good.
Yeah.
You can make yourself miserable, and don't let people control your moods. I don't know. I hate to ramble on about that one, but people allow other people to control their mood. And
That's very true.
get it.
That is very true.
You know?
I find myself falling into that sometimes.
I do too.
You
Again,
know, where it just, and it's when I realize that that's happened, I feel like I failed. I feel like, I feel like I lost a battle, because I like to be in control of the situation. I guess that's the law enforcement training in the background. You need to be in control of the situation that you find yourself in. When I have moments like that, I do kind of beat myself up quite a bit.
the thing that, and not to interrupt, Joe, one of the things about it, there's two things that when people control your mood. There's one thing, that I feel like you've lost that control. You got to maintain your control. You lose that control. And the other thing is, some people want to change your mood. They don't care about your opinion. Because let's face it, no one's ever won an argument. It never has happened, if you think about it. Because if you argue with someone, at the end of that time, you can think you're 100% right and prove them wrong. Their tail goes between their leg and they walk off. That person's damaged from what just happened. That's not victory. So no one ever wins the argument. So don't get to argue, debate, and don't let them get you in that mood, because they can't. If you really think about it, they can't do it. They really can't do it. Only you can do that.
That's interesting. I like that. I'm going to have to contemplate on that one a bit. So do you think that systems change people, or do people reveal who they already were once inside them?
That's a really good question. And I have not in exactly those words. I've thought that for quite some time. And I've been troubled by that because I went into a system and I was not the person I became in that system. I didn't think. But while I was in that system, I was, if that makes sense. And so systems are set up to work and to make progress, whether that progress is right or wrong. And if we don't take the time to change it, I don't even know how I can even answer that because I keep thinking systems will get better because we try to make progress. But I'll make a generalized political statement. But it seems like people who go in the world of politics, you see an evolution in them where they change and become part of a system. It doesn't mean they're all bad,
Mm-hmm.
but they change. And you can see, I'm talking locally. I've seen it happen on the local level.
Yeah.
And there's a concern about not having the popularity system. So obviously that system either doesn't work or we can't handle it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you're right, too. And I think using politics as the examples is perfect because you do see, I've had the opportunity to interview a number of congressional candidates and local elected official candidates. And, it's interesting how once they get into that position, how all of a sudden they seem to forget what got them there,
Mm-hmm.
and automatically start aligning themselves with the established order. And it's unfortunate. It's incredibly unfortunate. You look at the federal level. The federal level is disgusting with it. It's terrible. How somebody I'm thinking of one particular congressional representative who went into Congress. I think it was $65,000 in debt and is now worth over $30 million after just one term.
Yeah, explain that.
Sitting in office. Yeah, exactly. What happened? How did that happen? Because you entrench yourselves with the system and you become part of the system, and the rewards are great. And that's why I think a lot of people go into things like politics because of the benefits that come with it. I've become very cynical with my political views of late, and I'm not thrilled with a lot of things politically speaking. And as I was venting to a buddy of mine back home, and he was like, "Well, why don't you just shut up and run for office?" I'm like, "No, that's not the answer."
I couldn't do that because, and I'll tell you a couple reasons. I don't believe I would ever step into that system and do that. But I made the grandiose mistake already.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for me to go back and see all these other people doing it and justify it. I'm
absolutely right
with that.
Now, if for someone that's listening right now and they feel kind of skeptical about your story, what would you want them to first question? What would be the first thing you'd want them to question? The system or themselves? Themselves.
Yeah. I think that you let's face it, it's all, and I hate to give answers sound corny, but it's within us to fix us, and it starts with each one of us.
Okay.
The system is not even real, it's not, and it's just this thing out here, and so if you can't fix yourself, you aren't fixing any system.
I got you. So who's somebody that you respect right now, and what are they doing that inspires you?
Wow. There's a lot of people out there that oddly enough, there's quite a few people out there. I think that Billy Bob Thornton of all people, because I think he's one of the guys that's gone into the world of acting and he hasn't changed. I've watched this guy, his answers and stuff are so commonplace. He doesn't get wrapped up in awards. He doesn't need a pat on the back for everything in that world there. There's a number of people no one would know. I see there's a lady I know her who works at a battered women's shelter, helping people every day. No one can legally know who she is. I do because we were friends back when I was in law enforcement. Every day she works with it. People like that, and doing great things in the world of politics. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
Yeah, neither.
Yeah, I can't. I don't even go there. People like that. I think there's people in that in different fields, there's research doctors, it's people you don't know that do great things, and you find out about it, unfortunately, at their funeral or something,
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And, I think, dude, that's too bad we didn't know that, at the time. And I guess that may be kind of a vague answer, but that's really the people I look at.
That's a great answer. I like that. That's a really good answer. So, Jack, where could we go to find out more about you, about your work, and what's coming down the road for you?
You can go to, like I said, prisonbreakbrewery.com. That's our brewery website, but it's got everything on there. And you want to, I've got some stuff I wrote on there. You want to hear the songs we just did? They're on there. They're free, charge you for nothing. You can read about us. Kind of gives our history in there a little bit like that. We also have Fed Joints and Beer Joints is our YouTube channel, and you can go there, and we got all kinds of stuff on there. And Greg and I, our banter is a little goofy and off the wall, but we're goofy and off the wall, so we ain't lying. So check those things out. I guess I'd recommend those two things right there.
All right, outstanding. Well, we'll make sure we have all the links and everything in the show notes once we get everything processed at the end of the show, and I'll be checking out your YouTube channel there, buddy.
Okay, very good.
All right, Jack Straw, thank you so much for being here tonight. Really do appreciate you. God bless you, and you have a great rest of the week. And I'm actually going to email you after the show. I'm going to send you links and all that great stuff. So
very good. Thanks. Right. Appreciate it very much.
Have a great one. All right, folks. Jack Straw. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. I did. It was a lot of fun. Jack has a great story. It's an interesting story, and there's a lot of stuff we didn't even get to just for the sake of time. So we'll make sure we have Jack back on the show at some point in the next couple of weeks if he's available, and we'll get that all taken care of. All right. So what we're going to do here is our second hour guest is waiting in the backstage area. So we're going to take a very, very quick break here. I'm got to run to the restroom, and then when we come back, we'll be with Lisa Kovala. I hope I said it right. If I did not, she will correct me, I'm sure. And so don't forget, folks, this is a live show, weeknights, 7 p.m. Central Time, Saturdays to be announced, I guess, every 2 weeks, and then Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Time as well. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, your family, and your followers. Help us get found, help us get seen, and we're doing pretty good. Appreciate it. All right, folks, so we'll be back right after this. Stay with us, just maybe 3-minute break, all right? We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Unbroken sentence moving from topic to topic. No one had a chance to interrupt. It was quite hypnotic. Incredibly unbroken sentence moving from topic to topic. No one had a chance to interrupt. It was quite hypnotic.
That's an interesting twist.
All righty. First hour is in the books. Second hour going to kick off here momentarily. Hope you guys are ready for our conversation with Lisa Kovala. It'll be interesting. Looking forward to it. And we got a lot of ground to cover for the rest of the week. We got a packed week ahead of us. We got bookings every night this week. So it's going to be a busy, busy week. So, folks, please do me a favor. Don't forget. I know I sound like a broken record, but please go over and like, subscribe, and share the show. And, let us be found. Help us to be found. It's important. We're doing very well. Our numbers have been increasing. Downloads have been increasing. Followers have been increasing. So we really do appreciate all the effort that everybody is making and trying to get us out there. So thank you so much for it. All right, so this segment coming up here is sponsored by Creative Edge. Publicity at its finest for all creatives, your brand, and your future. Creative Edge. Did I have a banner? I thought I had a banner. Why did not the banner come up? I guess I don't have the banner. I'm sorry. Mickey will have to forgive me for that. Okay. All right. So now tonight, here in our second hour, we're going to be joined by Finnish-Canadian author, book coach, and podcaster Lisa Kovala, creator of rich historical fiction rooted in real experience and heritage. Lisa's work, from the haunting memoir of her father's survival in a Nazi camp to her latest Depression-era mystery, Like Water for Weary Souls, blends grit, storytelling, and the Finnish concept of sisu, which you're going to have to explain to me. She's also a writing coach and host of the Women's Writing Podcast, helping others unlock their creative courage. Lisa, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Great. Hi, Joe. How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Great. Nice to see you.
as an old friend of mine would say, if I was doing any better, I wouldn't be able to stand myself.
I love it.
Well, it's a bit of sarcasm in there, but
amazing.
But that's definitely the tone for the evening here. So it was one of those days where I was looking forward to getting onto the show, and I couldn't wait. Like, I look forward to every show I do. I'd rather do this than anything else. And literally 5 minutes before the show started, I got a pounding headache.
Oh no! How are you feeling now? Better?
Yeah, I'm better now.
Oh, good.
black coffee and ibuprofen. I'm good.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. A little caffeine, that'll help. Yeah, for sure.
Always. So Lisa, I like to usually ask a couple of quick questions to get started, kind of like icebreakers. So who's somebody, past or present, that you'd love to sit down and have a 2-hour coffee with?
Ooh, that's such a good question. There's so many. I'm going to say, this might be really obvious, but as a writer, but I'd love to sit down with Shakespeare. I just want to sit down with him and tell me the straight goods. Did you write the plays? Are they yours? Somebody else write them. Solve the problem.
Get rid of all the conspiracy theories, right?
100%.
There's so many out there. I'm a Shakespeare person too. I love Shakespeare. I as a matter of fact, I was earlier today. I was going through some. I believe it or not, I'm living here at the asylum for now 4 years, and I still have boxes that I have not unpacked yet. So I was going through one of the boxes, and it has a whole bunch of books. And I don't know how old these books are, but I remember reading them in high school.
Yeah.
I still have them. I mean, they're dog-eared, they're marked, they're highlighted. It's Hamlet and Lear and sure. All the sonnets, just great stuff. And I found it interesting because I'm flipping through it, and I'm looking at the things that I highlighted and underlined, and say, well, so at that time in my life, that particular passage meant something for me.
Yeah, 100%. And I always told my students, so I taught English for a long time in high school, and grade 12s always read Hamlet. And I always told them exactly that. You need to read it now, understand what you know now, but then come back to it when you're 30, come back to it when you're 40, come back to it when you're 50.
Yeah.
That play will change for you every single time because now you've experienced life and you
Yeah.
see the world differently. Every single year I read that play with the kids and it was something else for me. And it's just one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and I agree with you because one of the plays that I read several times was King Lear,
Yeah.
and there is one particular line in King Lear that at the time when I first read it, up until just recently, really didn't mean to me what it means to me now, and the line is very simply this: "I am a man more sinned against than sinning,"
Mm-hmm.
and
Good.
that's to me that's like holy cow, that just summed up the last 3 or 4 years of my life.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and
Powerful. And that he can so succinctly put it into those few words that resonated for you and that
Sure.
you remember,
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
Incredible.
That's why I love Shakespeare. I love the classic literature. I
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that you get today, there's so much out there that's just garbage.
Yeah.
You do get your gems, like an old preacher friend of mine would say, every once in a while you find a diamond in a garbage pail, you know?
100%.
And there's just so much out there today. That's just, I don't know.
It's hard because,
That's
I
not
think
saying
a lot
anything
of
about your work.
no, no, but I'm thinking because I work with a
Just
lot of
realize how that
writers who have
sounded.
never written before, right? So I coach writers. And so for some of them, it's their first time writing. They may have had a dream of writing a book for, 10, 20, 30 years.
Mhm.
Finally have this desire to do it. And you can't just write a book. You have to learn craft, you have to learn structure, you have to be a reader. There's all kinds of things behind the scenes. Like you couldn't ask somebody to go do, I don't know, surgery on somebody without having studied, right? But we kind of think, right, oh, I can write and I can read, so therefore I can write a book. Well, yes, you can learn. I absolutely believe people can learn, but
Sure.
not everyone takes that time to really make sure they have those skills and work on them over time. If you read somebody's first book, often it's not super great, but they're on the path, right? That first book is so hard. And then as they move forward, they're learning, learning, learning. I'm worried about a lot of things like AI and people taking these shortcuts because I want a book, but they don't actually want to do the work. That is worrisome. But there's always writers out there who actually want to learn how to do this. And there's
Yeah.
been a deep desire since they were kids.
That's usually a question I ask whenever I have a writer or an author on the show is what they feel about AI
Yeah.
and the use of AI. The consensus that I've gotten so far has been not to write the book, but to tweak it and fine tune it and edit,
Yeah.
subtle changes here or there.
Yeah. I always suggest for clients that if they're using it to bounce around ideas, to do research, that's probably fine, right? To just kind of get ideas going, like brainstorming, but using this tool. But the minute you start using AI to write for you, you're no longer, you're not writing. Just
Yeah.
stop. Don't bother. And then of course, that's the generative AI stuff. But then there's the AI that is that we're all using. Even if we say we don't use AI, we're using spell check, we're using grammar check.
Right.
That stuff is, I think, fair game, right? It'll make our work stronger. It's not so
Agreed.
annoying to readers when they come across an error because you've tidied it up. I still really believe in editors, like human editors, because they can get the tone and can get the feeling from the piece. Your AI will not be able to do that, but they can do the spell check. That's fine.
Right.
So I really kind of have opinions about it at this moment. In 5 years, 10 years, I don't know what I'm going
We'll
to
see what
say.
happens then. Yeah.
I don't know.
But you're right though. I mean, you can tell when you read something that's AI generated. There's just a different feel. It's very sterile.
Soulless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
soulless. Yeah, soulless, sterile.
Yeah.
There's just nothing behind it. And people I would say it from time to time that when you get a text message from somebody, you're reading it, you can actually feel sometimes what they're trying to express. You don't get that with AI.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
it's true.
I like using AI for my graphics for the show now. I started doing that a little bit got off my lazy backside and started playing around with that stuff. But that's pretty much what I use it for. And actually, my host audio platform runs the show through an AI generator, and it prints out your show notes for you. And what I do is I'll go through the show notes. Like a lot of people just cut and paste it and put it up there. Okay, good to go. No, I go through it and I change things. I make it sound more me.
Yes.
Because it's my content. I want to make sure that it sounds like me. And so I'll make those changes, and I'll do those, and I'll take that little extra step. But a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think it breeds a laziness in the creative process.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
rough.
Yeah, and I feel like you're using it for good and not evil, right? You're really using it to save time, be productive, so
Right.
that you can have your energy for the other things that you want to do, like this human interaction that we're having. You don't have to, think about all the time spent on those tasks that we used to do. So I think there's a place for it. It's not going away. It's only going to get better. I think we all need how to use it and how to use it well and appropriately. But we also have to be really wary that we're not just like giving ourselves up to it and being,
I agree.
it's our master instead of us using it as the tool.
Yeah, we don't want to become like the Terminator movies or the Matrix or something like that.
Exactly.
although sometimes I think that we already are in the Matrix, but
yeah, well, there's some debate about that, right? Are we on those kind of what do they call them? Simulations.
Yeah. And if it's a simulation, I want to hit the reset button.
Right. Yeah. How do we turn this thing off?
Exactly. I've told other guests that I've had on the show, authors, that I actually have an outline for a book
Nice.
that's based off of my career working in New York City, and I have it. It's sealed actually, because when I came up with it, I didn't know anything about copywriting stuff like that, so I just threw it into an envelope, mailed it to myself, and it's still sitting in my closet there.
All right.
So so it's postmarked, so I know that anybody who came up with it after that, they got it from me somehow.
Yeah, that's a great idea. The other thing I always tell people is just email themselves a copy. It
Yeah.
just timestamps it. You have it.
Well, the
sitting in
time I
your
did it, I
inbox.
didn't have email, so
Yeah, right. So that story sounds like it needs to be taken out of the envelope and written soon.
it's I called it I called it "Why I Wake Up Screaming: My Years Working for New York City." And
Ooh, good
and
title.
and each chapter, it's supposed to be more tongue in cheek than a serious thing. And each chapter is about a particular incident or individual that helped shape my career,
Yeah.
and things that took place around it. So a lot of little anecdotes that I can throw in there and whatnot. But I do need to do it soon. If I'm going to do it at all, I need to do it soon because the memories are starting to fade.
I
You know?
know, right? This is always the problem with memoir is you have
Yeah.
these ideas, and the longer you wait, then like how accurate, like we all have issues with those kinds of memories, and it's just what are we remembering that is accurate, and what is like, do we think we remember that, like did I hear that story or did that actually happen?
Yes.
You
I
know,
forgot what that's
fake
called.
things.
I had that conversation with somebody recently too, that there's
Yeah.
actually a term for that, and I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
But then again, that goes in line with my memory issues right now. It's funny because I just turned 55, all right,
Yeah.
in November, and I've noticed that my memory is starting to become like Swiss cheese. You
Yes.
know, and not the big Swiss cheese, like the Alpine lace Swiss cheese, all the little holes. Not the
That's
big
right.
ones.
I feel like you've accurately described my situation too, and I have to write everything down. Like if I don't write it
Yeah.
down, I'm like, I'm not sure if what's happening today. Like it's
I write
you're not
things
scheduled.
down, or I leave voice notes for myself.
Yeah, smart. Yeah,
And sometimes the voice notes, I'm like, "What?"
yeah. What did I mean by that?
I'll do
What
it
am
at like 2:00, 3:00 in the morning. I'll hit the
Yes.
like, what the
Yeah,
hell is that?
a good
Um,
strategy, but
mm, Not a perfected strategy, not
no,
yet.
not yet.
We'll get there. What I should do is I should set up a Ring camera or something in there so I can wake up and I can act out whatever.
That's right. Then you'll have like a whole teleplay, and you can put that on YouTube, and people will be like, "What was Joe doing at 2 in the morning?"
There you go.
Acting
Well,
it
I
out.
don't think too many people wanna see me at 2:00 in the morning. No.
No,
Trust
I
me.
get that. There's an audience for everything, I think.
I'm yes. Let's just say that, yes. I understand that feet pictures are very popular on certain websites.
Right? I hear that to be a thing. I know. It's kind of creeps me out a little bit, but
It is.
okay.
It is. It does. I don't know how we got onto this subject here,
I don't
but
either.
so you grew up in Finnish heritage. How did
Yeah,
that shape your earliest relationship with
yeah.
storytelling?
Yeah, so I'm Canadian and I live
I'm
in
sorry.
Northern Ontario.
Um,
I even live in my own hometown. I left for a while and I came back when I had a kid. And the community has always been a lot of Finns immigrated here. Here, Sudbury and Thunder Bay and Vancouver and Toronto, those are really kind of hot spots in Canada for Finnish people who have immigrated. Maybe because it's a lot like Finland, like the environment, the water, lake trees, rocks, that kind of thing. And so I just until I was school age, I just thought everyone spoke Finnish and did all the Finn things. And I'm like, oh no, actually, there's a lot of different communities in our town. So I grew up hearing a lot about Finnish history and sort of understanding my dad had a story, and it was just fascinating to me. I've always liked history anyway,
mhm.
but to kind of like understand where my family's um, stories started, how they're connected to that country, how they're connected to the history of that country,
I got
all
you.
of those things just fascinated me. So writing fiction is a great way to kind of like, okay, I'm going to deep dive into this and then put characters in the story and see what happens. And it's a really fun way to kind of come up with story ideas.
So what pushed you from teaching into full-time writing and coaching?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to say the pandemic might have been
Okay.
something to do with it. I
That
started writing my dad's book when I was 40 and he was 84 in 2012. And I worked and wrote and went to school for several years. But in 2022, I thought, oh, I can't do this. Like, uh, it was better. Like we were teaching online. I mean, we
okay.
have, it's great that we all can be online now. We all love it, right? Get
Mhm.
together, have conversations, do Zoom meetings, podcasts, whatever. But at that time, nobody knew what that was going to be like. It was terrible. The kids hated it. There was those ones that came every week and, did their best and some didn't show up at all. It was really tough time. And then we got back into the classroom and that was lovely. And I had a really great year. And close to the end of that year, I thought, okay, that was great. I had lovely classes. I was really happy. And I thought, this is it. I'm done. Like I just had that moment. And 6 weeks later, I was done. And I didn't go back. I mean, I supply taught for a couple of years. But this year I haven't supply taught at all. So I'm really, really out of the classroom. But it was just sort of kind of, I turned 50. I thought, what am I going to do the rest of my life? I think the pandemic helped me to kind of clarify the fact that, oh, like I can keep doing what I'm doing, which is fine. I like teaching. I like my students,
Right.
or I can pursue something that I love and that I want to do. And that was just sort of a game changer for me. It was a little bit of a light bulb moment. I think a lot of people had similar experiences at that time period, figuring out like, life is pretty short. So what else can we do? And, I didn't look back. I'm having so much fun and I plan to work another 50 years. It's great.
That's awesome. Is it basically the pandemic though was a catalyst for a lot of change in
Yeah,
people's directions and
I
career
think
and life
so.
in general. So, but the thing is not many people took advantage of, and it's kind of weird to say it that way. Not
Yeah,
very
I know
many
what you
people
mean
took
though.
advantage of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's kind of when the idea for myself is actually started with, hey, I'm gonna start podcasting again.
Yeah.
Now, I've been doing this stuff since before they really started calling it podcasting. I was doing it back in 2015, 2016.
You're the OG.
Uh, yeah, it sounds terrible, I know, but really aging me now. But I had a show with a couple of friends of mine back up in New York, and it was kind of like a quasi politics,
Mhm.
but really wasn't. It was just
Yeah.
just three morons sitting around and
Conversation.
just arguing with each other over minutia. And we did it once a week. It was a live show. And they used to call it internet radio back then. So it was,
Internet radio. So
yeah,
that is precursor to podcasting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so back
Amazing.
well, podcasting was around, but it wasn't like popular. Internet radio was still the thing,
Right.
and in that realm. So it was so I've been doing it since then, and then and when I moved here to Texas, I stopped doing it because the technology really wasn't there yet
Mhm.
to do like we're doing here.
Yeah.
Or at least the quality of it, was nowhere near this. Um, so I kind of put it aside, and then the pandemic came around, and I was like, I'm gonna start playing around with this stuff again. So I developed a podcast. I did it for about 3 years. Took a break from it last year, not this past November, the year before,
Mm,
and we just passed a year doing this show,
amazing.
and it's crazy. I never look back at the other one. I just said, okay, well, it's time to move on to this, and let's keep this thing going.
That's great.
But it's a great medium. I love it. I get to meet great people. That's the thing.
No, it's so fun. I feel the same way about my women writing podcast. It's just a great way to connect with people and have interesting conversations that, you might have with a friend at a coffee shop once in a while, but a lot of times you don't. Like it's like about your day or the kids or whatever. You don't really have an opportunity to kind of get deep into things.
Yeah,
And that's really fun, and hopefully it helps other people too, right? They see their lives differently, or they see,
exactly.
something resonates for them, or they can take some little tidbit away. And, I think it's just such a great medium.
It is. It's fantastic. I've met some incredible people that I never would have met any other way. Like,
Exactly.
and I brag on this all the time. I kind of pat myself for this one. I've had elected representatives on the show. Actually had at one point I had the candidate for mayor of Eagle Pass. He actually here in the studio with me, and now he's the mayor of Eagle Pass.
There you
And
go.
I feel like, hey, I kind of helped
That's
in
great.
some kind of way. But no, I've had Nobel Peace Prize nominees on the show. I've had theologians and scholars, and I've learned something from everybody, and it's a great medium, and I would encourage anybody to get into it if you can, if you have
Absolutely.
the patience to do it. It takes time.
Yeah,
But
totally.
totally off subject. So, your book, Surviving, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I know. Stuthoff.
That's what I say, and I'm sure German people would correct us both. But I kind of anglicize it too because I just don't have the accent. So
Yeah, I think it's
Stuthoff, I
something like
think.
that.
Mhm,
So that comes from your father's memories.
exactly.
How did you navigate writing such a personal history? That's hard.
Yeah. It was so hard. I'm not gonna lie. So, like I said, he was 84 when we started this project. He finally agreed he would do it, and so that was great. And I needed to do all the research I could, learn everything I could about the Nazi concentration camps, this camp in particular. I just needed to know what happened to those prisoners, so that when he told me those stories, I wasn't going to completely break down. Which I'm a sensitive person, and he knows that. I'm the youngest of four. I'm the only girl. I was like his little girl, and here he is going to tell me sort of the worst moments of his entire life. So I needed to arm myself, and then I would go to his place every Sunday afternoon for months and months and months, and he would tell me stories. At first, I had questions. I was prepared,
Yeah.
but you know what? I think he spent most of the week just thinking about what he was going to tell me.
Mhm.
And so became evident that I didn't need to ask questions. He had stories to tell. So he would tell me about life as a child in Finland during the Winter War between Finland and Russia. He told me about being a merchant marine sailor. And then he told me about coming to Canada. And he told me about working in Canada in 1951 and as a young man and traveling all over the country. And I thought, oh no, he's never going to open those death gate doors. And I'm never going to see inside that camp. He just can't get there. My mom kept saying, just be patient. He's going to get there. So finally, after many months, he started talking about what happened.
Mhm.
And I would sit with my laptop on my knees, and I would type, and I'd keep my focus on my laptop because if I looked at him, I knew I would lose it, right? Like the laptop became this kind of portal that I could focus my attention, type notes as he spoke. And so it was like, I think if we were looking at each other, both of us would have been much more unable to continue. And there were some times when, he broke down, and he, very stoic Finnish man, never cried, but there were a couple moments there. And then I would go home in the car, and I would sob on my way home. And I had little kids at the time. So I'd like get inside the house and I'd be like, you know, put mommy face on.
Right.
It was a really emotional time because you know, you have to be there for your kids. You want to be strong for your dad. And it was really, really tough. But it was like when I realized how important it was to do this story was when we had, you know, we didn't know if we were going to publish. We thought we'd just print it out for family members and friends and whatever. Eventually, we decided to self-publish, and then eventually a publisher picked it up. But sort of in the interim, he would come to book signings with me and different events, and people would ask him questions, and he could kind of speak openly about what happened to him. I thought, wait a minute, all that time, and you couldn't tell me, and now you're like just telling people. But he had somehow unlocked those stories and that feeling like I can't tell anyone. And so doing this, I think I hate to call it therapy because I'm not sure that it is therapy as much as like there's a therapeutic effect, I think,
Yeah.
to telling these stories, to letting them go. But it doesn't mean that he ever recovered from PTSD. Like he had night terrors right till the end. You know, it was you don't recover from that. But I think he was able to talk more openly to other people, and you could see that it was something he needed to do. And so I was really proud of him for doing it, and honored that he allowed me to write it.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, I was going to say the same thing. That it was probably something therapeutic for him in a way that enabled him to I guess, even though it was later in life, process everything that took place and get to the point where he felt comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
And you were his therapist in a sense.
Yeah. I think it was that he could tell the story to somebody who wasn't judging him, who wasn't like I tried not to have an emotional reaction. I was just recording, and then I might ask follow-up question, or like later in the week I might call him and say, hey, what about this? And I had him read every version that I wrote as well, because I'm like, if there's something here that I'm not representing correctly, we need to fix it. So you have full license to say no, it wasn't like that. There was one time he told me a story. He was about to tell me the story, and he says, don't write this down. And of course, you know, spidey senses are like, what's going to happen? So I said, well, what if I write it down, and then if you don't want it in the book, we won't put it. And so he agreed. So he told me this really emotional story. I'm sure he'd never told anyone else before in his life. And, you know, I think it was sort of a traumatic thing for him and for the other sailors that were involved. And I wrote it, and then I when I gave him the copy of the draft of the book and he read it, he agreed to leave it. But he couldn't. You know, initially he didn't even want to tell me, and he didn't want me to write it down. So there's something about that, being able to talk about what happened is opening. Like, I'm no therapist, I don't know, but there's something about telling your truth, right? That can be very freeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Absolutely. So what's a one moment in your in your writing experience that surprised you?
Oh, so many. I think that if I'm thinking about the time that I was working with my dad, it was that he was able to, like I say, talk to other people about it. And so it was surprising to me how far he had gone in those months where he wasn't able to, you know, he didn't even want to tell me. And then all of a sudden he's standing in front of, or like sitting with strangers, telling them his story. And it really drove home how powerful stories are. Yeah. And how, like, I thought it was for me, and I thought it was for my kids and his grandchildren. I thought it was for our family. Maybe a few of his friends might be interested in what happened. I didn't quite make the leap to other people need to know about what happened to him. That even though they don't have the same story, or they're, you know, I'd have people tell me things like, I wish I'd asked my grandfather XYZ. I wish I'd asked my dad about such and such. Not the same circumstances, something else that happened to them. But the idea that they missed the opportunity to tell the story or to ask the questions. And that's so powerful to me, that, you know, our stories can impact other people in ways that we do not expect. And that my dad was able to, you know, have those conversations. Like, it's a phenomenal kind of thing that story can only, I think only story can do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, so obviously over the course of your career in writing, you've had to go through periods of rejection.
Mhm.
What's the toughest rejection you ever came across, and what did it teach you?
Oh, what's the toughest rejection? I've been pretty fortunate, but I also don't know that I've always put myself out there too much. But I did have a book that I thought, okay, I'd really love an agent for this book, and I thought I'm gonna pitch all these agents, which I did, and of course anyone who's pitched agents knows that you have a lot of rejections, and I was okay with that. I'm like, yeah, that's normal, rejection, 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 and then sometimes you get a really nice email, and then then I got this really beautiful email from somebody who loved the book, who was you could just tell, like, it wasn't a form letter, it was a lovely email about how like really specific about the story, and they'd read it, the whole thing, and I was very excited about it. But the end kind of said, but I don't know how I'm going to sell it right now. Like, these stories aren't selling. I just don't know how I'm going to sell it right now. Just put it in a drawer for now and come back to it and pitch it again later. And like, that was devastating, because I'm like, I've been working on this book for years, years. And here you love it. And you're like, no, because that's the business part of it, right? Like, as writers, we don't quite always want to accept the fact that it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the stories are from our heart, and then we give it to somebody else, and they're like, "Huh, well, I don't know how I can market this." So that was kind of like sad, but also I was really happy with that email, because I felt she took some time to say lovely things that made me feel like, okay, there's something here. There's something that I can.
Well, also the fact that she was able to comment on it. I mean, how often do you think these publishers get book copy and they don't even look at it?
Right. Yeah, and not only that, is like from
They'll
the
just
pitch
read the
letter,
back or
and
something.
you send maybe 20 pages, then they have to request the full. So when you get a request for a full manuscript, any author knows, you're like, yay,
Good
somebody
time.
wants to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And whether they read the whole thing or not, I don't know. But so the fact that she took the time and did actually read it and commented made me feel kind of buoyed up, but also really disappointed.
And that makes sense. If look, I get excited when I get one new follower. I can,
Right?
when you get when you get a letter asking you for the full copy of the book, and that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that I'd be floating at that point.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
it's a nice feeling, even though I'm realistic in the sense that I know that even a request for a full doesn't mean that they're going to take the book, but there's that glimmer of hope, right?
Right,
You're
well, that
one
means that
step
they
closer.
actually took the time to read,
Yeah.
and there's a legitimate interest, because like I said, you don't know if you're sending these manuscripts out to people, if they're actually looking at it, they're just maybe reading. I don't know if
Yeah.
you put like notes or anything in there, like a summary of it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all they're reading, and they're not
Yeah,
actually going
sometimes it's
through it.
just a letter, like a query letter, and sometimes it's a couple of pages or a summary of the story. Like, they all want something different, which is also crazy. But yeah, you don't know if they move past the first paragraph of your query letter. So anyone who's
Yeah.
pitching, more power to you. Just hang in there. I know a lot of folks who have pitched, hundreds of times, and then they get the deal that they want. So it can happen, but you have to be very patient. Unfortunately, I'm not the most patient person. So I sort of like, all
Welcome to
right,
my world.
I'll give it a shot. And then I'm like, I'm out.
Welcome to my world, ma'am. Welcome to my world. So now you coach writers.
I do.
So what's the single biggest blocker that you see most authors face?
Yeah, I think the most difficult part is sitting down to write, which sounds ridiculous, because they have a story, they know what they want to write about, they want to write it, they want to have written, they might want to publish, but they don't want to sit down to it. It's really hard, and I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
So there are some writers who do write every day, but I think the vast majority of us don't, or we have like an uneven schedule. We might write a little bit here and a little bit there, and we have other things. Might have another job, and we've got kids or older parents or whatever we have. So there's a zillion things going on, and writing isn't always the number one priority in somebody's life, even though they want to do it. But one of the things I always recommend is mirroring. I don't know if you know about that, but it's if you get maybe a writing group that you meet together at a coffee shop, or maybe like I have a group that meets online at a certain time, and we just get on Zoom and we set a timer for 30 minutes. We write together, have a little chat for a few minutes, write for another 30, 40 minutes. And the fact that other people on Zoom are doing it with you, it's this mirroring effect. Like there's been science around this that we actually will kind of stick to it because other people are doing it too.
That's
If we were
interesting.
by ourselves, we'd probably be like, okay, maybe later. I'm going to go get some coffee, right? Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I have to go do the laundry. But if you're with other people who are doing it at the same time, there's an instinct to just stay and stick with it. And so that's been really effective. And so I use that with my
Interesting.
clients. Mhm.
Interesting. Now, you know, Mickey
Yes.
asked me to write something. I forget how many words he asked for. I think it was like 750 or something like that. I had the hardest time
Yeah.
trying to write this, and all I kept on doing, I would sit there, I would look at the screen, and I
Yeah.
would just see that little blinking cursor, and I'd be like, I am
Yeah.
not a writer.
I
You
know.
know,
Yeah.
it's not me.
It's the
So
blank page. Like people fear the blank page, but like that's what you know. One of the things you can do in those cases is like I love that you use your notes app to remind yourself of things.
Mhm.
Like, just talk to it. What would if I have to write 700 words? Okay, what are some of the things I want to say, and just say them instead of
Yeah.
writing them, or just jot note them, right? And not feel the pressure of having to like compose something beautiful. Don't make it you know difficult for yourself. Write just little snippets and then form a sentence and then maybe form another one and like keep it really really like no pressure on yourself at all. And then all of a sudden you have all this material and you're like, okay, I can clean this up. That's fine. I can put this into a paragraph. It doesn't feel like I have to write from beginning to end
Yeah.
as though it's like perfectly done, you know? So yeah, just start small. And I love the idea of just dictating it. Just start talking because you're a person who speaks a lot to people. You know, you have your ideas. It'd probably be easier just to dictate it and then go back and move
Yeah, probably
change
so.
around.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it also something you said just triggered a memory. When I was in the academy back in New York, the first day of academy, our the commanding officer comes in and he goes up to the whiteboard and he just writes KISS.
Yeah.
You know, keep it simple, stupid.
That's
Yeah,
it. Keep it
that's the
simple.
best way to do it. So when I was reading your bio, this word popped up called that is sisu. Sisu, am I saying it
Yes.
right? Or
You're
sisu?
saying it correctly. Yes.
So what is that,
Yeah.
and how does that apply to creative work?
Yeah. This is my favorite word of all time. But it's a Finnish concept. It's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, probably first written like 500 years ago or something. There's no English translation. So that's kind of the problem.
Okay.
But I can kind of get around to something close and you'll get the idea. So courage, strength, determination, grit, all of those things, right? That like resiliency. But imagine a situation in which you know the outcome cannot go your way. And
Okay.
yet you're going to continue anyway. So it's like Sisu is like where grit leaves off, right? Where
Okay.
courage leaves off, where like you just keep going. So it kind of got popularized, or I guess during the Winter War between Finland and Russia, because Finland was such a small country, and of course the Soviet Union was a huge army and better equipment and all those things. But Finland really did hold its own against Russia
Mhm.
because they figured out tactics and ways to continue, and they just had this sisu, this inner determination. Every one of them did, and so the world heard about this concept. Like even the New York Times reported about Sisu because that's pretty phenomenal what was happening. So I think everyone has Sisu. Like not it's, like the Finns named it, but we all have it and we can
Okay.
all access it. And I think it's what we use, like we dig it up when we need it, when things are tough. But I think there's everyday Sisu too, like that kind of like day-to-day stuff that it's hard to
Yeah.
just keep going, especially when the world is kind of crazy. That's when we kind of really need Sisu just to keep one's foot in front of the other. And writers need that too. We just, like I was saying, we sometimes find it hard to even sit down to write the words, even though we really want to. We just can't get ourselves to do it. So it's that determination, that willingness to keep moving forward, even you don't know the outcome. Are you going to finish the book? Are you going to get it published? Are you going to have readers? Whatever. Like all of that stuff is out of our control, but we can get this work done. And we can hope and we can aspire and all those things, but I don't think that's useful. I think you just have to do it.
Yeah. No, I and as you're talking, as you're explaining this, I'm thinking about it in the world of podcasting and
Yeah,
what I'm doing. You just got to do it. You got to get out there. You got
gotta
to
do
do it.
it.
You got to be consistent. Keep working on it. Keep plugging away at it.
Yeah.
And if you attract an audience, great. If you don't, this is your creative outlet. Just keep going with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, and no regrets, right? Like, you're not
No,
gonna
no.
go back and think, "Oh, I wish I'd stuck with it longer," or, "I wish I had done that differently." Like, no, just keep going, keep going, keep going, and you can't control the outcomes. So why are we worrying about them? Don't worry
Exactly.
about that part. Only think about, like, what I can do today, what I can do tomorrow, and
Yeah.
keep moving forward. So that concept is sort of ingrained in me since I was a kid, and I saw that through other like through my family members when there was hard times. You could see them just like this stoicism and
Mhm.
just this determination. And they don't like say, "Look at me, look what I'm doing." They just did it. Like, they quietly did the thing with strength and determination. I'm like, okay, that's like real power, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Now, in your coaching, do you emphasize structure or voice first?
Ooh. So I think
That
I
is some research.
usually work with, that's a great question. I haven't thought about it that way. I usually work with people on what we call the blueprints.
Okay.
And so that's like the fundamental elements of a story. So you're thinking about character, you're thinking about your why, you're thinking about what the point of your story is. Like, you're kind of developing all these underlying elements. And then you build up towards, okay, what is the outline for this story?
Mhm.
How are these characters, making decisions, and how is the story going to flow? So I think it's kind of working through the fundamentals. And some writers come to me with a manuscript already done, like done, or they're stuck somewhere or something like that.
Right.
And we'll often go back to those fundamentals to see what's missing here, like what's not in the story that you've stalled out on, and then they can go back and be back in it and refreshing it and figuring out what's going on. So I think there's, things we need to do that sometimes we wait to do till the end when we've done
Mhm.
the book, the whole book, and we think the publisher or somebody says, "Okay, well, give me a one-liner about your your book," and we're like, "I don't know. What's the theme? I don't know." Right? But if we can think about those things up front, then we have this kind of
Yeah.
guidepost, the whole way.
Again, I'm taking this and I'm putting it into the podcasting world.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, they'll ask you, so what is your show about?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
You need that line. Right? And
Yeah, but
it's hard to articulate it.
then what comes into my mind is, Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing.
Right, yes.
You know?
That was the best.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. Like,
Yeah.
like we've been trying to along with my producer, we're trying to put together a media kit,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, to get out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, they wanna know. That's okay, so give me one sentence describing your show.
Yeah.
I can't. Not
Yeah.
in one
I
not in
think
one
that's the
sentence.
hardest line to write. Like, when I get
Yeah,
writers to do that little exercise about their, like, we call it the point, like it's kind of
yeah,
pointing to the theme, but getting them to write that is one of the hardest things. And I always say, like, do several of them. And then the one you really love, just stick it on your computer and
mhm,
keep looking at it. And then you might change it. And then
yep,
you might change it again. And then over time, you're just going to refine the language until it feels exactly what you want to say. So just kind of let it mull. Like, don't force it.
right.
Just have it there. Keep looking at it. Keep returning to it. Try it out on people. Change the wording. You'll get there. But it's the hardest line to write.
It is, it
I
really is.
struggle with it all the time.
Yeah, unless you have to sit down and actually do it, it's
Yeah,
really it's
it's
difficult.
true. Yeah,
So
for sure.
what does the writing life demand most from somebody?
Persistence.
Mm,
Yeah, I think you just have to be persistent. I think there's so many things that can pull us away from the work, from being creative, from saying no to things that you'd like to do because you should be doing that. And it's really easy to get down on ourselves too. I think any creative person knows that um no one's really waiting for your work, right? Like, unless
right.
you're, I don't know, Stephen King or Margaret Atwood or somebody like that, no one's really waiting for your work. But you need to show up every day and keep doing it anyway, because you don't know where that's going to land someday. So
Exactly.
I think it's just persistence, and that's part of that whole idea of sisu, right? Just keep going. And
Consistency.
the only way you're only going to get better. That's my opinion. Like you can learn to write and you can refine your skills, and you're only going to get better. And that could take a long time. Like that, you're not going to necessarily have a bestseller right out of the gate, and that's fine.
You just answered my next question. What's one myth about writing you wish everyone would just stop believing?
Yeah, that's a good one, right? Just
Yeah.
not thinking that everyone's going to write that book and that all of a sudden it's going to be like a New York Times bestseller. Like just let all those things go. And I think writing requires us to understand that we love the work,
Mhm.
we love the process, and the outcome is going to be the outcome, and that's okay. But if you hate the work and you don't want to do the process, and you don't, all of those things are a grind for you, then maybe think about doing something else. There's lots of other things we could be
Yeah,
doing.
that's a
But
great
if
point.
you can enjoy the process, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant thing to be doing.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a fantastic point. It's again, I'm applying this to what I do,
Yeah.
and I had a friend of mine tell me recently. He goes, "Just too bad you put so much effort into your podcast. Too bad you don't do that in your regular job."
Right? Yeah.
I was like, what? Shut up.
I know, right? But that's the thing that we are passionate about, the thing that we love most. Yes, it's work. Of course it's work. You're doing work, I'm doing work. It's work, but it feels like work we want to show up to. It feels like work that we love, that we're proud
Yeah.
of, that we want to explore more and learn more. Like whereas the day job sometimes can become a grind, even if we like it, even if we're good at it. Like I love teaching, I love my students, but it got to a point where it wasn't filling me creatively anymore, right? It was just and it was fun. It hard to find ways to make it creative for me, let alone, the students. Like
Yeah.
that was a whole other thing. They're coming to me fresh. They haven't had me as a teacher before. And I'm like, this is the 800th time I've done Romeo and Juliet, and I'm not sure that I can make it exciting.
Yeah, because like I call it becoming mechanical.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
And you realize it about yourself. And
Mhm.
so I think that's when you need to make a change, and a big change can sometimes be what you need to. Look, I'm not suggesting people should quit their job and go be an author or creative person. It's not easy to make a living. You have to, figure out your own way to do it. But for me, it was certainly the right thing to do and at the right time. And
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be able to do that. And if certainly book coaching is very helpful in that regard. I'm able to do the writing and the book coaching and marry like sort of the teaching and my love of literature, my love of writing, and all those skills, and just kind of bring them together. And I love working with people. Like I just
Yeah.
think it's the
You could
best.
tell. It comes through. You could tell.
Yeah.
So, your book, Like Water for Weary Souls, so
Yeah.
that book, it's and I'm skipping a lot of questions I had for you because I'm looking at the clock. Um, so your book, it blends mystery with history.
Yeah.
What particularly drew you to that story's era?
Yeah. So it's set in 1930s in a mining town, which is my hometown of Sudbury, during the Depression. And so my mom was born in the Depression. So I got a lot of stories about her and her living in the farm and that kind of thing. I've got a lot of that from her. She told me about the bootleggers, and she told me about the various things. So like, you kind of go, huh, interesting. And then I read a book called Defiant Sisters. And it was a research book by Vadapå Lindström, who wrote about all kinds of different time periods and Finnish immigrant women. But there was a section set in my hometown in 1930s during the Depression and about women and what they were doing. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And she was talking about how women were domestics. Okay, that makes sense, right? But then she was talking about, oh, how many women were actually bootleggers, and how many women ran boarding houses, and how many of them ran brothels. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. These are not the stories my mother told me. So how can I create this, opportunity here to take those ideas and put fictional characters into this situation? And then, and I really wanted to write a mystery. So it became it became a mystery where two sisters, one of the sisters' body, no spoiler because the book starts this way. Her body is found in Nolan Creek, and the other sister is aware that there's no way her sister crossed that creek, like that icy, frozen creek. And the police say it was an accident. She says, no, it was an accident. And she's determined to find out what happened to her sister. So it becomes a mystery, but set in that, like grounded in that historical time period.
I got you.
It was so fun to write.
It sounds it. I have a PDF of it. I started reading it earlier today. I just did not get a chance to get into it too far.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to sitting down and reading it and going through it. And then actually, you know what? Maybe when I get through it, I'll have you back on again if you're interested.
Yeah.
We can actually talk more detailed about it.
Love to.
It's because what I've read so far, it's really an interesting story, and I'm looking forward to getting more into it. So, how much of the real Northern Ontario landscape influenced your setting?
Yeah, completely. And like the Donovan neighborhood that I write about, it's still like sort of I want to say notorious neighborhood because has always been a little bit rough on the edges. It's always been where, some shady stuff goes down. It's a place right now that has more, the Main Street has more nice businesses, but it's still, sort of an area that is kind of rough and tumble. And it always has been so. So I love that I could just go walk down there and check out the places. And I in my head, I know exactly which house she lived in, and I know where the creek is and where the body was. So like, it's very rare to have a setting where you can just like walk through the setting and imagine where your characters, where they are and what they're doing. And of course, I change names of businesses and things, but then the rest of the landscape, like Sudbury is like bush and lakes and rocks, on repeat. So, I love that there's this kind of grimy mining town and then this beautiful nature surrounding it.
Yeah. I love that stuff too. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so very urban.
Yeah.
And I used to love to go to upstate New York just to get away from the city. And a lot of people don't realize that there's a difference between New York City and New York State itself.
Yeah.
And upstate New York is just absolutely beautiful. It's exactly that. It's the mountains, it's the trees, it's the lakes, it's the river, it's all that beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And now I live in a desert. So
yeah, amazing. That's one of my favorite drives. Like when we come from Canada to New York, driving through there is just stunning. Like it's just absolutely. Like, oh, I love it so much.
Absolutely. It's great. I miss it. I do. And I never thought I would say that. I never thought I would say that I miss the cold weather and the snow and all that stuff, but I do. I miss it.
I know.
What is it? It's January 5th and it's 77 degrees right now.
Right. Well, my husband was just snow blowing the driveway because we just had a huge dump of snow. So,
Nice.
Minus 20 or something. I don't know.
My last winter in New York, it was -2.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And I miss it. I do.
Yeah.
I really miss it. So what's the hardest scene you had to write for the book?
I think one of the hardest scenes was when Essie, who's the protagonist, has to go identify her sister's body because I wanted it, like, I know there are a lot of those kinds of scenes in books and in movies, and I want it to resonate, but I also didn't want it to be like soppy or cliche. I wanted it to be authentic emotion.
Okay.
And Finns are kind of notoriously unemotional. And I had one reader say, she's not upset enough. And I'm like, oh, you don't even know. She's like, but it's trying to capture that, like that trauma of it, but also not that visceral, like upset and devastation over it in the moment, because that wouldn't be true to her character. So I'm trying to find the balance. And so that was a tough one.
So somebody just commented in the Rumble chat, which you can't see it, but they said, I really like this guest, Joe.
Aw, thanks.
Well, there you go. Well, just make sure you like, subscribe, and share it. All right.
Amazing.
I'm looking over this way, like it's actually here. But I have the Rumble window open on this side, so I can see the chats.
Perfect.
So
love that.
somebody asked me once, so what do you keep looking at? You're always looking someplace. I'm like, I'm looking at the feeds.
There's a screen, and 100%.
I have 1, 2, 3. I got like 4 screens.
That's it. I know what you mean.
So what's next for you? What's coming down the road?
Oh, I'm so excited because I kind of did a little bit of a shift from, so I've been writing these historical novels, literary novels, and now I'm writing a cozy mystery series with a Nordic twist because why wouldn't I include Nordic things, Scandinavian things in there? And so the first one comes out, it's called Huga and Homicide, comes out in March. And it's just was such a delightful thing to write because it's like mystery and Scandinavian things set in a northern town. And like, I mean, I didn't spend 3 years writing it because I didn't have to do all this research that I do for historical novels, which I love, but it was great to take a break
Yeah.
and to sit in that world for a while. So I'm planning a 6-book series and I have 2 done so far.
Nice. And for some reason, you said something about Scandinavian stuff. I just imagine you in front of your computer with the hat with the horns and.
Yes, I should actually get one of those. That might put me straight in the, like, maybe it will channel ideas right through the
There
horn,
you go.
right?
So you also do a podcast. So
I do.
what's the biggest lesson that you've learned from hosting other writers on your podcast?
Yeah. I would say that our experiences are uniquely our own, and yet they're universal, if that makes any sense.
No, it does
Because
actually. Yeah.
yeah, so many people have, like, I always ask them about their process and when and where they write and all these kinds of things. And everyone has different, pieces of advice, and they've heard bad advice and they have great advice and whatever. But but at the end of the day, we're all just struggling to do the work. And I love that, like, even really well-known writers and people who have been doing this for years and award-winning writers and all the things, they still just struggle to do the work.
Yeah.
And it makes it validating because I'm like, okay, it's not just me. Like, and when you might give up, to hear somebody else is like, oh, no, like, I worked on that book and I put it aside and I came back to it. Like, they just talk about their struggles and you think, okay, we're all just doing fine. We're okay.
Oh, man. So if you could give one piece of advice to somebody who hates writing, what would it be?
Oh, who hates writing?
Yeah.
Oh, find something else to do. I would say if they actually do want to write, my advice is always 2 things. One is read. If you want to write whatever it is, nonfiction, fiction, I don't know, business, manuscript, whatever. Read in that genre and outside of it, but also start before you're ready. So the one thing we all think we need to do is be an expert before we can do something. You do not need to be the expert. You get expertise by doing. So just flip it, right? Just do it. Like, whether it's podcasting, whether it's writing a book, whether it's creating art, I don't care what it is. You're not ready. Go and do it anyway.
Outstanding. I like that. That's a good answer. All right. So who is somebody that you respect right now? What are they doing that inspires you?
Oh, I have so many people I respect. Okay, I'm going to talk about so my book coaching training was through Author Accelerator, and it's run by a woman named Jenny Nash. And I admire her so much because she's a person who inspires others to do the work, teaches them how to do the work, but remains authentic.
Nice.
Remains like human, and I just love that. Like, I don't, even as a teacher, I have other teachers sometimes say, well, you kind of have to be tough in the first few days and you have to, don't smile. And I'm like, I'm not that person. Like, whatever I do in my life, I want to be genuine and authentic and kind.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to change because now you're in a position of whatever. Like, Jenny has this business and, but she's still kind of like who she's always been. You can tell. And she cares about people. So I admire her. I admire her business model. I admire what she's created and how she's inspiring us.
That's great. I love that. That's perfect. All right, Lisa, where can we go to find more about you and your work?
Yeah. So you can find me on my website, lisakovalabookcoach.com. Or on Substack, I have Lisa Kovala Women Writing at substack.com. And that's where you can find my podcast. My podcast is also on all the other streaming platforms as well. So
outstanding.
Yeah.
And I know I have your links already, so they'll
Great.
be all generated into the show notes as soon as we finish processing everything. So, Lisa, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you again once I actually finished reading the book.
Love it.
And we could have a good chat about that. It'd be a lot of
That
fun.
would be great. That was so fun, Joe. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it was really a great conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, look, it takes two, right? You got
That's right.
both ways. All right, Lisa,
All right.
thank you again. Have a great night, great week, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Expect an email from me, by the way, at the end
good.
of the show. I'll send you links and all that stuff.
Amazing. Thank
All right.
you. Good
Talk to
night.
you soon. Thank you. All right, folks. Lisa Kovala. I heard her say it, so I got it right. All right. So, well, there you have it, my friends. There you have it. So 2 hours. Hour number 2 has concluded. So Jack Straw first hour, Lisa Kovala the second hour. I think it was really good conversations tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Shout outs to our executive producing team, Wayne Rankin, Rosanna Rankin, Carolina Jimenez, and Marissa Lee. And of course, how could we do anything without Anonymous Angela? Thank you so much, guys, for all that you do. I really do appreciate you taking your time to help develop the show, donating your time, your talent, and your treasure. Now, if you'd like to find out more about how you could help out and support the show, you can head over to our website. Just go to joerooz.com/support, joerooz.com/support, and you can find out all the ways that you can effectively help us out. All right. Now, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Central Time, we'll be back here with Ken Webb. Looking forward to that conversation as well. So, Lord willing, we'll see you here tomorrow at 7 o'clock. That's pretty much all I got for you for tonight, my friends. So, once again, thanks for taking the time to be with us. Don't forget to head over to the website, joerooz.com, joerooz.com, and send us over a message. Let us know what you think. Any questions, comments, cares, or concerns. Make Texas independent again. Go podcasting, keep a steady stride, and keep talking. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.
Until we meet again, happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together?
Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather.